good morning. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I am Ken Walls, and I'm your host, and I apologize in advance. I got a little bit of a bug. It's picking on the wrong body. I'm not going to have it. Oh, we have Angela Totman on the show. Angela, how are you? Good to see you on here. So listen, today I have somebody that I've had to reschedule. I think only twice, but I have a guy on today that is a rock star entrepreneur, and I cannot wait to hear his story. I want to welcome David Mammano to the show. David, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for having me. I'm super psyched.
Good, dude. So look, I created this show last April. I have interviewed over 160 celebrities and entrepreneurs from all over the world, and I've had some amazing stories. And you know here's what I think. I think that people grow by hearing other people's stories of hitting walls and breaking through them, right? So I'm sure that you've hit a couple of walls along your way, bumps
Absolutely.
in the road. So I'm excited to hear your story. So let's talk about, let's start with where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised and actually still live in lovely Rochester, New York. I call it the Upper West Side, right? So people are, where are you from? From the Upper West Side. And it's a community of about 1 million people, the greater Rochester area, our metro area, better known for Kodak, Xerox, Bosch and Lomb, which have changed a lot. We have Paychex. We have a lot of other big, great companies, but it's really become a company because of Kodak and Xerox. At one time, we had the most patents of any city in the country on a regular basis, and
wow.
And since those companies, they're still around, but they're very different companies. And instead of the big three, which I said Kodak, Xerox, Bosch, and Lomb, we have like the big or the small 1,000, right?
Wow.
So a lot of wicked smart people that were working at those companies that are technology, et cetera, that now have started their own, 5, 10, 20 person companies. And so a lot of cities that, used to be great cities, but their major industries or major companies collapsed, like Binghamton and IBM, like, Schenectady and GE,
Wow.
Rochester never has had a bad unemployment rate. Even in 2008, 2009, we were like around 4%. People are like, how is that with Kodak, Xerox, Bosch, and Lomb being different companies? It's because we all just started different companies, and so we're like we keep on kicking, we keep on reinventing. It's unfortunately when you see Buffalo and Rochester in the news on the national news, it's like February snowstorm, but there are a lot of other months, when it's nice here and we have a great life. It's still, I relate it to still kind of a Mayberry city. It's still it's one of these cities where we still have dinner together. 5:30 every night, go to church, family activities, play in Little League, and we can be anywhere in about 15, 20 minutes, and getting together with the relatives on the weekend. So it's a great place to live.
That's my wife grew up in Erie, PA, which is up there in the snow belt with you. So yep. I mean, it's pretty far from where you are, but yeah, she grew up in the snow belt up there. So growing up, what was because you're an entrepreneur, I don't know how, I'm sure we'll get into that, how long you've been an entrepreneur, but growing up, what was it like? I mean, you had the Little League, you had all that. I mean, were your parents entrepreneurs?
Not my parents were not at all. My dad worked for Kodak, as a lot of Rochesterians did back in the day. My mother was your traditional homemaker. I joke that I grew up in an Italian beaver cleaver family. I mean, I have nothing to complain about. I had a great mom. I had a great dad. I had a great little sister. We lived in a beautiful suburb of Rochester called Pittsford, New York, which is on the Erie Canal. And it's just quaint. It's gorgeous. It's a very wealthy community. And so but they were not entrepreneurs. However, a lot of my relatives were, right. So my grandparents came over from Sicily, and they were entrepreneurs because they had to be, right. They had to be. Kodak wasn't hiring anybody with a vowel at the end of their name in the 40s, right. And true story. I mean, it's like if you 30s, 40s, before, if you had a vowel at the end of your name, very, very tough to get a corporate job. So what did they do? Well, they became construction workers, et cetera, right? And then, so one of my grandfathers started a pool company, was one of the first guys in Rochester. He and my great uncle, they were one of the first companies in Rochester to install in-ground pools in Rochester, right? Wow. Another uncle opened up a great restaurant called the Maplewood Inn. Another uncle opened up a sign company. So a lot of the signs you see around town are still made by his company. So that's really what we're doing these days is taking I think the energy I get from those relatives, and it's in my blood, So
yeah. So you participate in sports and all that growing up as a kid?
Not well. I certainly tried.
I can relate.
I was a kid that did the sports that anybody made, right? I did cross country, I did skiing, and I did track, right? So if you had a pulse, and legs, you pretty much made those teams,
Right. That's awesome. So you went to school there, high school there. Did you end up going to college?
Yeah, I went to university at Buffalo, our neighboring city, about an hour and 15 minutes away. And I was going to be a dentist, ended up doing an internship, had realized that I had no love of teeth whatsoever, and changed my major a couple different times, and ended up selling ads for the school newspaper. And I loved it. And then I sold ads for the radio station out of college, and didn't like that. And then eventually that led to my course of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So you didn't finish.
Oh no, I finished college.
Oh,
yep. I went to UB for 4 years.
You didn't do dental school though.
Did not do dental school.
Got
no,
it.
I did an internship and realized I had no love of teeth whatsoever.
Got it.
I mean, kind of a funny story. Like, why did you want to be a dentist, Dave? And after that internship, I look back and why did I want to be a dentist? And the reason was, my mother's cousin was our dentist, and he was very rich. He had a big house and he had a red Porsche. So as a 14-year-old kid, I'm going to be a dentist when I see that, right? No thought of the actual career and all that stuff. So when I talk to younger people, I say, hey, rule number one, don't choose a career for the money. Right. Choose a career for something that you like doing anyway, and how can you parlay that into your career?
Right. So how did you end up? So you got your college degree, and it was in what? What was your final?
Communications.
Okay. So how did you? What happened after college? What was the first thing you did?
Well, so as I mentioned, I ended up working at the school newspaper. I went down there to be a writer, and they didn't have any writing positions available, so I sold ads. It was a big paper. It came out 3 times a week. We had a circulation of 11,000, and I loved it. I did get to write a little bit, but I loved selling ads, right? I just loved creating the ads, helping the local pizza shop grow, and I would get a commission. A fun business. So then I thought, I graduated college in 1991, so, before the internet took off. So at that time it was like print and then radio and then maybe TV someday. So I got back here in Rochester, got a job in radio, and I sold radio ads.
Wow.
And did that for 3 years, 3 different stations. Finally realized that it wasn't the stations, it was me. Right. I just, radio, selling radio ads is great boot camp for sales, right?
Yeah,
if you could sell radio ads, you could sell anything. But I realized that, I liked my boss. I just hated having a boss. I liked radio. I just didn't like selling radio,
Yeah.
And at that point, I realized I think I just needed to start my own business. I needed to do my own thing. And that's when I started thinking about being an entrepreneur.
And okay, so the word entrepreneur, in my opinion, is way overused today. Like, you see, you know what I'm talking about. It's really, really, really overused in a lot of, like, when you decided you were going to be an entrepreneur, What was it that you were like, I'm gonna go? Because I'm sure back then you weren't like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. It was more probably like, I got to do my own thing and figure this out.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's funny. So when I started the business, entrepreneur wasn't a word that was thrown around. There were no entrepreneurship classes or programs at colleges.
No.
If you were an entrepreneur, it was kind of a fancy term that you didn't fit in a big company, and maybe you're selling watches out of your trench coat, right?
Right. At the mall, accosting people as they walk in, right?
Yeah, and so you're right. My mission was I wanted to create something from scratch and be in control of it. And not that I'm a control freak, but I wanted to be in control of the culture, the standards, the quality, the process. Like I didn't want to have to do something that I didn't want to do for a living or make a shortcut or not have something up to my standards, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to create something great and I wanted to be in control of it. And that was it. That was it. I wanted to control the experience for me and for the people that I serviced and worked with. So that was it. So I had this idea. I took my love of when I worked for the magazine or the newspaper in college. I loved it, right? It was a great experience. And then I also looked at my activities that I was doing for volunteer. And I was doing a lot of volunteer activities for young people, right?
Yeah.
I was a volunteer at a camp for kids with cancer. I was a junior achievement volunteer, and I was a big brother, right? So kids in the inner city, I'd take them out once a week. And I'm like, well, I obviously like helping youth with their future. And I loved the high school or the college newspaper. What if I combine those? Ended up talking to my cousin, a little Godwink happened. My cousin was going to college here in Rochester called RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology. And I asked him, I said, well, how'd you choose RIT? And he had no idea. And he said, I just got in, my parents suggested it. I had some friends going, so I'm here. And I thought, what a shame. It's a great school. But if you don't know why you're there, it's not a great school, right? And then I thought, geez, how many kids are actually in college and they have no idea why? And I was like, that's it. I can start a magazine for high school students and help them while they're still in high school with planning for college, choosing a career, and then throwing some life skills in there as well. So we, and when I say we, I mean me. I started a magazine called Next Step Magazine.
Yeah.
And we had 3 pillars: college planning, career exploration, life skills. And then we would give it free to the students in high schools in bulk, in Rochester, right? 150 high schools in the area, and give it free. And the way we would make our revenue is we would sell ads, and that's what I did best, right? So colleges, banks for student loans, the military, right? So any business that wanted to reach high school students, and that's how we got the whole ball rolling.
Wow. And that was just, you just had this idea. Like out of the blue.
It was an idea in my head that at the end of the day, it's all about execution. Yeah. Right. So at the time, I'm 25, no wife, no kids, no nothing. I had a Geo Prism, which you may remember those crappy cars. Yeah. I said, if I lose my Geo Prism, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't burn the bridge. That was very important for all you people thinking about starting a business. I didn't burn the bridge with my employer. I left on good terms. I said, it's not you. I just said something I want to try. I could have gone back because I was a good salesperson if it didn't work out. I didn't want to go back. At night, I worked at a waiter at a restaurant called Mario's and also Ruby Tuesdays. So during the day, I was, an illustrious magazine publisher. And at night, I was, schlepping meatballs and super duper chicken sandwiches, whatever it took.
Wow. This sounds like a scene out of, I was going to ask you, isn't Rochester where the, that TV show, The Office, wasn't that?
Oh, it's out of Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Scranton. That's right.
We're actually very similar cities. That's
funny. Right.
Yeah.
So here you are. Okay, so this goes back to the learning how to sell advertising at the radio station. I mean, had you not done that, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe you would have figured it out, but like that probably helped with the whole magazine advertising sales thing, right?
Absolutely. Well, selling ads at the school newspaper, the college newspaper, and then bringing that up to the next level for selling ads in radio, which, once again, this is an intangible product, right? No one ever walks into a car dealership and say, hey, I just heard your ad on WKLX and I want to buy a car. No one ever says that, right?
Never.
And It would drive me nuts. So you have to be a very good salesperson to be able to sell radio advertising. It's like boot camp.
Yeah.
So once you've sold radio advertising, everything else is pretty easy, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you're right. It was a tremendous kind of like getting my MBA in sales.
I mean, because all you're really selling with radio is branding. Like you're
Yeah.
like brand recognition. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
it does work if it's done right, and if
Right.
it's done enough, you got to saturate that audience. But it's like a billboard, right? Billboards work,
Yeah.
but no one ever mentions like, I just saw your billboard. Let me buy a car, right? So
Right,
there's different
right.
types of advertising.
So I love that, man. So I think that so you and what did you do to generate your like did people just start calling you? They heard about your magazine and they started lining up to spend money with you?
That's what I dreamed about at night, and then I woke up to reality.
Right.
No,
Right.
in the beginning it was I call it good old pick and shovel work, right? Rolling up your sleeves, making the calls.
That's
The majority of our advertisers were colleges. That was kind of a no-brainer. I would say, hey, we're reaching over 70,000 high school students in New York. And I'm skipping ahead. We started in Rochester, and then we expanded to Buffalo and Syracuse, and then we expanded to all New York State.
Wow.
So the sales calls would say, hey, I'm reaching 70,000 college-bound high school students in New York State 5 times a year. Would you like to market to them? We had a business reply. This is before the internet. So we had a business reply card in the magazine where the students could put Joey Smith, I'm interested in Elmira College, et cetera, and then send that reply card in, and then we would get those leads to the colleges, right?
Yeah.
And this is before they had, sophisticated data entry systems and all that. But so they say, oh, wow, I spend $5,000 in Next Step magazine. They send me leads. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And it was a much simpler process back in the day.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of picking up the phone, calling colleges, calling the military branches, calling banks for student loans, et cetera, and just, really doing a good pitch.
Jeez. Were you calling on small businesses on college campuses like the little restaurants and things like that?
No, because it was more about recruiting the high school students that
I
are
gotcha.
the magazine, for that college. They weren't there yet, so those small businesses I called on when I was working for the college newspaper.
Gotcha. So how long did that last? Or do you still have it?
No, great question. So we got it going in all New York State. Great revenue model. Very excited. And the entrepreneurial curse, right? You have a goal, and you're down here.
Yeah.
You reach it, pop the champagne. Next day you're bored. What's the next one, right?
Right.
It's this drug. And so we New York State, great model, great template, making a good living. Didn't have to work at Ruby Tuesdays and Mario's anymore. What do I want to do next? Well, I want to go national, of course, right?
Yeah.
Now, if all of a sudden I went national with just one issue, I would have lost all my core advertisers because most New York State colleges don't recruit in Utah, Wyoming, Texas,
Right.
et cetera. So then I had the idea to actually set up a franchise corporation. And we ended up franchising the magazine idea into different states and regions. So essentially, I got a guy in Texas, for instance. He had the rights to Texas. No one else could call the colleges, the accounts, or the high schools.
Yeah.
We did a shell for him, the whole magazine, the cover, design articles,
Yeah.
gave him a little space for local flavor articles. Send him the shell. His local designer would put the ads that he sold from Texas in there.
Yeah.
Send the shell back to us. What we would do is printing and mailing. Lo and behold, we hit every state. So we were in all 50 states. We were in about 20,000 high schools 5 times a year. Print, of course, online. Then we went to the iPad, mobile, digital, all that great stuff. And we created a great business model that we were reaching more than 3 million high school students per year in more than 20 high schools with our products.
Wow. So I want to pause for a second and just say thank you to Chris Saraceno because Chris is who introduced us.
Yeah. So Perry Saraceno is my next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Love him and his wife Kathy. Love. Yeah. And so Perry said, you got to meet my brother Chris. And he's a mover and shaker in this entrepreneurial business world too.
Yeah.
And just wrote a book, right?
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
Chris and I hopped on the phone, had a great phone call, and then voila, he introduced me to you, and the rest is history.
It's awesome. Yeah, I just tagged Chris in this, see if he jumps on. But so what happened from there with the magazine? You started franchising.
Yeah, so we franchised it all over the country. And then, so it was a great business for a long time. We were an Inc. 5000 company for 3 years in a row.
No
We're
kidding.
Rochester Top 100 company. We won some great content awards. We went against like Scholastic, et cetera.
Wow.
So our poop didn't stink for a long time
Yeah.
until it started stinking, right? So the digital revolution,
Yeah.
really around, it really started chipping away at us around 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
And by 2014, we retired the magazine.
Oh, wow.
And we went all online and sold ads online. And then I tried some different iterations. I opened up a retail center, a college planning center, almost like a Sylvan or a Huntington.
Yeah.
But we focused on college planning. Couldn't make that work, but I tried it. We opened up an online school that taught life skills to students through high schools. That's still around. NextStepU.com is still around. Wow. However, it's a very different business, right? Very different business. And I'm spending most of my time with Avanti, which is, my new company, about 2.5 years now, which we could certainly talk about more. But the core of Avanti is taking my many years of being an entrepreneur, the highs and lows, and kind of packaging that up into a service that provides coaching, masterminds, and events to beginning to middle stage entrepreneurs.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. So, and we're definitely going to get into that. I want to ask you, there's times in every business owner, entrepreneur's career, if you want to call it a career, but there's times that it's almost like a very dysfunctional career at times, I think. With me, there's been many times where it's like, oh my God, I have payroll due this week and we don't have it, right? Or and you're navigating all of these different lanes trying to figure it out. So what are some of the bumps in the road that you've hit along the way? Because so far you made it sound like you had this idea and it just took off and you never had any problems or challenges.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's, I would say, any entrepreneur tells you that they've never had any issues or problems. They're a total liar, right? I mean, Ken, I do my own podcast. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years, the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast. And a question I ask on a regular basis is, tell me about a time when you crashed and burned.
Right.
I don't ask them if they had a time. I'd say, tell me a time.
Right.
And they're like, which one? Which one?
Exactly.
And the good entrepreneurs will share the story.
Yeah.
Because they know it can help other people, so they don't have to go through it. And some of these stories are like downright holy. How are you still alive? Yet they were able to get back up and rise like the phoenix.
Yeah.
So I was riding very high with Next Step. It was a great business. Like I said, Inc. 5000 company 3 years in a row, top 100, multi-million. Buying things in cash, right?
Yeah.
Investment properties, et cetera. And then, like I said, I thought my poop didn't stink, and then it did. It did hard, right?
Yeah.
And so I was high, went back down on the roller coaster, and I'm still coming back up, right?
Sure.
I mean, I have a new company again. It's called, like we said, Avanti.
Right.
I mean, it's about 2.5 years into it, and if you start any company without investor money, which I'm doing, it takes a good 3 or 4 years to get the flywheel turning, right?
Yeah.
People forget that. You have a new product, a new idea. Oh, it's been 2 months. How come it's not succeeding yet?
Right.
Remember that first company that you started
right.
from scratch and you bootstrapped it. It took at least 2, probably 3, if not 4 years.
That's right.
To get it going, right? To the point where the flywheel was turning with cash flow. And and people got to remember that.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail. And not just entrepreneurs, salespeople. Sales, this, you've been in sales in a variety of different things, I'm sure, but like I've seen it, I've hired salespeople, train them. You think this guy is going to kill it. And he doesn't come out of the gates making $4,000 a week. So he may make zero a week for a while, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
maybe negative zero.
They give up. They move. They go somewhere else. And I've done that. I've done it myself. But I think it takes some years before you finally go, okay, like no matter what it is, it's going to take time.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and you have to have the endurance.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm a very positive guy, right? People see me, I tend to be a sunny disposition, gregarious type of guy.
Yeah, right.
Pooping rainbows, and but listen, I have my days. I would say I have my mornings. Like we all experience the tough times, the highs, the lows, and you have to just keep on walking through whatever hell you're experiencing at that time. Yeah. I had a boss one time, Steve Chartrand. He said, Dave, you got to have the bad times in order to appreciate the good times. And I thought that was so powerful.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill, when you're walking through hell, don't stop. Keep on walking, Happens to all of us. Mel Robbins, she's got a great interview where her and her husband were going through a really tough time on the edge of bankruptcy, a lot of debt, and she didn't want to get out of bed, right? And her interview with she pretended she was a rocket ship. She was watching some NASA program. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. She says that to herself, and she blasts out of bed. I say that to myself on a regular basis. I got to get out of bed, charge again, good, bad, or ugly. Got to keep on moving.
Grant Cardone is a friend of mine, and I was on a phone call with him one day, and when crap was hitting the fan in my company, and things weren't good. Like it was bad. And he says, dude, my mom used to say, when you're going through hell, stomp on the gas.
Right.
You just
exactly.
Get through it. Which everybody, they're all saying that. But like what is in your opinion, what is the number one thing that what's the number one thing that stops people, that holds them back? People hit these walls in life. They hit these and they stop, or they get frozen for a significant amount of time, or do what you were just saying about Mel Robbins. They hide under the covers and stay there forever, or whatever. What is it that, in your opinion, what do you think keeps people stuck?
They make the mistake of not thinking they're good enough. Right. So it's fear, it's anxiety. It's, people call it the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't deserve to do this. I don't have the expertise to do this.
Right.
Guess what? Gary V got freaking 7 views on his first video.
Right.
He admits that. Right. He doesn't say, oh, I have the imposter syndrome. I'm not meant to do this. Right. Maybe the next video he got, 12 views.
Right.
And then the next video, maybe he got 20 views. Right. He kept on going. So it really comes down to saying, what, damn it, I have to set up the visualization of where I want to be.
Right.
And I have to repeat that to myself every day and feed my brain the words, the actions, and just really the visual of where I want to be on a daily basis. Our brain it's an amazing tool. And we can program it to wherever we want to be. Yep. And the default sucks, right? The default is telling us it's very easy to be negative, to get scared, to be fearful. It's very easy, right? Yeah. It's harder to break through all that and take the instigative approach to program your brain for success with positivity, with confidence, with incredible visions of where you want to be. Yeah. And then working towards that. So I think a lot of people get stuck in not feeding their brain the right information to break through the barriers of imposter syndrome, fear, and anxiety, and just low confidence to get to that other side.
Yeah.
Listen, most of us have many, many days of low confidence, but the ones that succeed, we replace that negative thought with something positive. Maybe it's something grateful that we're grateful for. Or, for me, you mentioned Grant Cardone. Yeah. When I get a little when I have a negative thought, I picture myself on a stage in front of 10,000 people, impacting them, influencing them. And I know Grant does that, right? So so that motivates me. That's where I want to go. Right. I want to be in that stage introducing Grant Cardone. Right.
Right. Yeah.
At my conference. Right. And so that's the vision of that I replace in my brain, in my mind when I'm having, negative kind of, thoughts that are going to stop my progress.
So for let's say that somebody, called you up and they said, man, Dave, I just, I can't get it. I don't know what's going on. I can't, they're shutting off the electric tomorrow. Car's getting repossessed. Everything's going wrong, and I can't figure out how to make it go right. As hard as I work, I can't figure it out. What do you say to that person in that moment to get them, over that hump that we've all been through? I mean, you can't own a business. Like, I used to be ashamed that I've had bad credit, and I'm like, there's not a business owner on the planet that, if they're honest, that hasn't been through some credit problems here and there. It's just the way it's part of the deal. So
yeah. Vern Harnish calls it earning your stripes, right? You missed, Vern Harnish, who we all know from Gazelles and started Entrepreneurs Organization.
Yeah.
I took a Birthing of Giants program, and he spoke, and he said, how many people have missed payroll? And, most of the class sheepishly raised their hand. Congratulations, part of earning your stripes, right? I'm like, so we all felt a little bit better, right?
Yeah, right.
So what do I say? Your question was, how do you kind of stop somebody when they're feeling like they can't move forward anymore?
Yeah.
And it's first of all, I would like to take them out of their environment. Can we go for a hike? Can we go for a walk? Can we go work out together? Yeah. Can we add some blood and oxygen to their brain and to their nervous system? Can we take some deep breaths and just kind of stop the insanity? And then I really want to ask them, what is your ultimate vision? What is your superpower, and how does that relate to your ultimate vision? And if you go back and look on a daily basis,
right,
how often are you using that superpower to make that vision happen? And oftentimes they'll say, not much, because they're putting out this fire and they're busy with this stupid thing and this stupid thing. Activity does not equal success. People are busy, but they're not making things happen. So we get back to the basics. Okay, you want to be able to make this happen with this great vision.
Yeah.
Let's really take a look at your core strengths and how can we super hyper focus you to focus on activities on a daily basis that's going to lead to that result.
Right.
And usually it's sales, right? Usually it's sales.
Yep.
Sales and marketing. And it's easy to go through a day and you say, holy shit, I didn't ask one person to spend money with me.
Right.
Right? And sometimes you go through 2 days and 3 days in a week, but you were busy.
Yep.
Right? A lot of quotes up there, right? A lot of air quotes.
Yeah.
And you say, oh my God, I kept busy doing this, this, and this, but I didn't ask one person to buy something. And so what I would tell that person is, what you need to carve out. Let's start with at least 90 minutes a day, and pretend it's like the dentist, or like it's an appointment that you need to keep. 90 minutes a day that's all you're going to do is super hyper focus on making that cash register ring. Are you prospecting? Are you dealing with current clients trying to upsell them, right? 90 minutes a damn day. Do you have that? Yes, you do. You do that every day. Let's start with three days a week, hopefully 5 days a week, 90 minutes a day. In 6 months, your life will be turned around. You'll be making payroll. Your credit score will improve. 9 times out of 10, that's the answer. They're avoiding doing that. They're rolling up the sleeves. Call it the pick and shovel work.
Yep.
It's not sexy. Right? People say, I want to have fun. You know what? 99% of business is not fun. It's freaking hard work, right?
It is hard work.
It's hard work. It's not fun all the time, right? You want to go have fun? Great. 5 o'clock, have a drink with a friend,
Yeah.
You and I, my sleeves are rolled up right now. I'm you know what? We're making things happen. And it's got to be related to taking your superpowers, your energy, and how do we mind map that into the sales funnel?
Yeah.
End of the day, that's it.
Sales,
baby.
That's it.
It's all about sales.
It really is, man. It really is.
Yeah.
If you're not selling, as a business, if things are going bad, sell.
Yeah.
Focus everything you have on selling. That's it.
Yeah, and I think it was Tony Robbins who did a great metaphor in the beginning. You got to go crazy, right? You got to go nuts.
Yeah.
Just like an airplane uses the majority of its fuel when it's getting off the ground, right? But then when it's in the air, obviously it's still using fuel, not as much. You, as a new business or somebody who needs to reboot the business, you got to go hog wild. You're going to be using a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
Get off the ground. When you got the system, flowing, don't give up. But
Right.
you will be able to I'll say coast a little bit, but still keep that sales flywheel turning for sure.
That's awesome, dude. So why don't we talk about what Avanti is? Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing now and what it's all about and how they can find you and follow you and all of that?
Yeah, so Avanti, I started it here in Rochester as a coaching company, and then I started doing events. Brought in Norm Brodsky from Inc. Magazine as my first keynote. And then I started doing my podcast, the Avanti Entrepreneur Podcast, and have some great guests. We're going to have you on the show as well. But Kevin Harrington, Vern Harnish, Lolly Daskell, some incredible guests, right?
Wow.
And I'm supposed to have Dean Graziosi coming up. Psyched about that. Had Ed Meidelet. So I've had some big names, right?
Oh, you had Ed.
Really impactful people. And so that, and then somebody asked me to start a mastermind group here in Rochester. Got the word out on social media. Like over 40 people were interested in joining. I'm like, that's too many for one. So we started 4 groups, right? And then we had 6. And we went to Buffalo and Manhattan and Toronto and Burlington and New Jersey. And so now we have mastermind groups, all over the place.
Wow.
So it really has turned into, and I partnered with a wonderful guy named Carl Gold, who was one of the first Tony Robbins coaches back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And now he has a company where he certifies coaches, and he's certified hundreds of coaches in his network. So they become our coaching arm. He's a partner in the business. So we're able to take all of his coaches and offer Avanti coaching as well. So it's Avanti. It's called the Avanti Entrepreneur Network. Yeah. And we're creating the world's largest membership-based community of entrepreneurs that offers coaching. It offers training, advising, mastermind groups, and events and content for entrepreneurs. And we have different levels. So our entry level is only $29 a month, right? Yeah. It's a weekly online webinar where you could do Q&A with certified coaches. You get a weekly email, Facebook group page, events, etc., online library. And then we move it up where you get a mastermind group. And then the further you go up, you get more and more personalized one-on-one coaching and mastermind groups, which is higher level players. And so that's where we're going, making really coaching accessible and affordable for any entrepreneur.
Dude, that's awesome, man. It's going pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Avanti means move forward. So that was kind of a nice name after next step. The continue forward movement, right? So that's what we're doing.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I tell you, I've got a friend of mine. That his father started this company years ago, and one day when I had one employee, my first office. And I couldn't make payroll this 1 week. And I'm like, dang, what am I going to do? One employee, the dude was only making $500 a week.
Right. You earned your stripes early on.
Yeah. And I called this guy. He does $100 million a year. And I called him and I said, I said, I don't want a loan. I don't want money. What's the secret, man? Like, I can't make payroll. I can't figure this out. What's going on? He goes, dude, there is no secret. He goes, well, actually, yeah, if there is one, this is it. He goes, because I've been there. He goes, I've had my 5 credit cards maxed out with $450,000 in debt. I had all these employees. And I couldn't make payroll. And I'd have company meetings and bring 30 or 40 employees together and say, hey, we'll get you next week. Can't do it this week. Sorry, love you all. And he goes, some people would walk out right there on the spot and leave me. And other people stayed, and they're all multimillionaires today. He said, but I'll tell you, the secret is this. It's stay in the ring. You keep swinging. You keep fighting. Keep running, and don't let that blanking tiger catch you.
Exactly.
Like, right? That's it, man. Like, you just got to keep pushing.
Keep moving forward. Avanti, baby.
I love it, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's going well for you.
Doing very well. Yeah, and
Good.
I have a BHAG, big hairy audacious goals. I want within 5 years, I want 100,000 Avanti members worldwide.
Wow.
And that's starting at $29 a month, and then moving it up from there. So that's where I'm focused on is really creating the most accessible and valuable membership based community for entrepreneurs.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Well,
Thank you.
is there how can everybody follow you? Where's the best place to follow you?
So we have a great website called AvantiEntrepreneur.com. Mm-hmm. We make you spell entrepreneur, but you will learn it after a while.
Right.
And but if people really want to reach me, they can email me, David at davidmammano.com, Mammano. I'm actually pretty. I say this with Ron Burgundy in mind. I'm kind of a big deal on LinkedIn. Yeah. I'm approaching, I think, 20,000 connections on LinkedIn,
right.
On Facebook, Instagram. I don't use Twitter too much, but I'm on there. Yeah. But probably the best place to connect with me personally is on LinkedIn. I look at all those messages and reply and all that stuff. So
wow.
Be happy to. It's in my spirit to help people. Yeah. I get energy from it. So please reach out if there's anything I can help you with.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you being on today. It's been a long time coming.
Yep, absolutely.
I apologize. I've had to reschedule with you a couple of times, but we made it happen, man. So.
No problem. Like I said, I can't get mad. Otherwise, I'd be able to throw the first stone, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, Dave, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you being on here.
Thank you, Ken. And once again, a shout out to Chris Saraceno for introducing us. Appreciate that.
Chris is awesome. So thank you to anybody who's been on here and shared this out. If you haven't shared it yet, please share it out. And we will see you guys soon. Don't hang up on me yet, Dave. We'll see you
I'm here for you.
See you guys soon. Take care.